You mentioned the Syracuse Orange, Dan, 42-38.
Yeah.
They knocked Miami right out of the ACC title game. They handed that spot to Clemson. Just talked about that.
Yeah.
Handed it to Clemson. And suddenly now it puts Miami's playoff case in a bit of hot water. Remember, SMU had already clinched. SMU was already going to the ACC title game. They won 38-6 in resounding fashion over Cal this week. So left no doubt.
Yes.
Left no doubt.
No Fernando Mendoza, though, I believe, right?
No Fernando Mendoza, but they left no doubt that they're a top 10 team in this iteration of college football, week 14. This Miami game, though, and you know this, we have been talking about Miami on the road. Miami on the road the last couple weeks of the season. What is that going to have in store for the Canes? Mainly because their defense has left a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
And they have constantly put Cam Ward in this position where he's got to bail out the defense. And that works to some extent because he's a really good player, borderline Heisman contender, probably a first-round NFL draft pick. You can do that with a player of that magnitude. However, you can't always do it. We saw a couple weeks ago, that was when a loss happened. Now this week, to close out the year, a lot to play for. You win, you're into the ACC title game. You can aspire for more, win that game, get a first-round bye, perhaps, in the playoff. Miami was highly ranked enough. That was certainly within the realm of possibilities. 42-38. The defense let him down again. Cam Ward could not do it all on his own. Defense was in short supply on both sides of this. It's not like Syracuse was out there, holding Miami to 302 yards or something crazy. They had some moments, for sure. They had some stops that made this possible. But this is a cautionary tale of, A, what happens when you put it all on one player, and B, what happens when you go to the JMA Wireless Dome and play against the Franimal, Dan. When you
I tried to tell you.
When the shower is on the line with the Franimal, you don't want to F with the Franimal. 42-38 is your final. Miami goes down for the second time this year.
Yeah, I mean, it is. There's a lot of bummer about this, obviously, from a Miami perspective, not making the ACC championship game because offensively, I mean, it wasn't even just Cam Ward, right? He has to throw to people. Xavier Restrepo, record-setting receiver, made a ton of plays once again, had a key miscue where he, I think, fumbled it and it gets returned. It was returned for a touchdown, right? So some miscues from the Miami offense. They kick a field goal to go down 4 on fourth down late in this game.
It was a curious decision from Mario.
Going for the tie.
Decision.
And in the end, it was as much as we want to pay attention to Kyle McCord, it was LaQuint Allen on the ground icing this one, hurdling, literally jumping over Miami players. And the cutaways to Mario on the sideline were just very Arrested Development Job. Oh, I'm really in it now. Oh, old boy, you've really done it this time. Just like the seething silence of Mario Cristobal on the sideline, where Cam Ward and this offense did plenty once again to win this game. Defense just needed to be decent. Get off the field 1.5, 2.5 more times.
There is one stat here that jumped off the page to me, and I watched the whole game, and in the flow of a game, you're not keeping track of these stats. You have no reason to, but afterwards I looked it up. They allowed 7 of 10 on third downs for Syracuse.
Yeah.
Syracuse was 70% on third downs. Their defense couldn't get off the field. This was not a defensive clinic one way or another.
No.
But Miami should be better than this. With everything that Miami brought back, with how I think Miami has done really well in the recruiting game and whatnot, I mean, this is a defense that should be better than this, even though Syracuse plays a solid brand of offense. Let's be real. They're a 9-3 team. They got to be better than this. And the decision that they made inside of 4 minutes, it's 4th and 10, 4th and goal from the 10, I guess, to be specific. Inside of 4 minutes, they're down 7. They kick the field goal. If you believe in your quarterback, if you are willing to put everything on your quarterback the way they have for a chunk of the back half of this season, And in that moment, against a team that isn't known for its defense.
Tired legs on the Syracuse defense, yeah.
There was every reason that Mario should just give the ball back to Cam Ward and say, go out there and make a play. And in that moment, he buckled. He didn't do it. He decided he's going to turn it over to his defense, a defense that gave him no real reason to believe that it could get a key stop, and they didn't. And they ended up losing 42-38. So,
I mean, but the reminder is every decision that works out is a good decision.
Well, sure.
Every decision that doesn't work out is a bad decision. And so if they had gotten stops, right? And if I had wheels, I'd be a bicycle. But that they're basically the calculus there is, okay, if we're seeing, getting a stop or two as a 50-50 gambit and Cam Ward scoring, leading this team into the end zone as a 50-50 gambit, we're going to bank on Syracuse's offense having more opportunities to make a mistake than we are one play for Cam Ward to get this in.
Sure.
But ultimately, like, getting 3 points there doesn't do much for you either way.
It doesn't. And it really surprised me that they would do that. Again, this was an even game. This was back and forth.
Yeah.
It was not a defensive clinic by any stretch of the imagination. Mario kicks the field goal instead of going for it. That's not the reason they lost, but it is one of those key decisions that you can point to and say, wow, if that had gone a little differently, maybe Miami would be playing for the ACC title game against SMU. As such, it's going to be SMU against Clemson. Clemson, we mentioned Clemson earlier, also took a loss this week against South Carolina. It'd be something if Clemson were to come back now and win the ACC title against SMU. How might that affect playoff conversations?
Well, they're not getting a bye.
Yeah, probably not getting a bye for sure. But there's a lot here that I think still possesses true chaos potential going into Week 15 championship week.